Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Earth Day. Are we excited to save the planet or what? Well, first of all, I just want to thank the supervisors who are joining us today, Supervisor Valley Brown and Supervisor Rafael. You'll be hearing from them in just a moment, and a number of our incredible environmental activists, including the Sierra Club and others, which you will be hearing from later in this press conference. And I'm really excited. We are gathered here because we all know that climate change is really one of the most pressing issues of our time. It affects every person in every community, and not just here in San Francisco, but throughout the world. We know that it has real-life tragic consequences that will only get worse if we don't act. And while San Francisco has always been an environmental leader nationally in sustainability, we know we can go further. At last year's Global Climate Action Summit, I was proud to become one of the newest mayors to co-chair the Sierra Club's Mayor for 100% Clean Energy program. At that summit, we also doubled down on San Francisco's commitment to using 100% renewable energy by 2050 and be powered by 100% renewable electricity by 2030. That's a lot of numbers, I know, but it means a great future for our environment. And to help us get there, I pledge to only build zero net carbon buildings by 2030 and to decarbonize all of our existing buildings by 2050. Now, these are really bold commitments, but they are necessary. And we're taking the action needed to get there. In May, we will introduce an ordinance to transition private commercial buildings of 50,000 square feet and larger to 100% renewable electricity. We're not going to only do this all at once. We're going to start with our largest buildings by 2022 and phasing in smaller buildings over time. We need our largest buildings, which are some of the largest energy users, to drive us to the 2030 goal of 100% renewable electricity citywide. We need more San Francisco buildings to be just like St. Francis Hospital, which is why we're here today. St. Francis Hospital is a super green hero, a Clean Power SF super green customer powered by 100% renewable energy. Now, if that's not raising the bar and setting a great example, I don't know what is. By the time that we are done, San Francisco's downtown and the entire city will be powered by 100% renewable electricity. Earlier this month, I was proud to announce that San Francisco has reduced its greenhouse gas emissions by 36% below the 1990 levels. And our goal was 25%, so we exceeded our goal. And we know that when we make significant investments and significant changes and working together, we can get to great things for our environment. Now, this program will take us even further. With 100% renewable electricity, our city's largest electricity users can be zero carbon by fully electrifying and getting completely off natural gas. With 100% renewable electricity, our privately owned zero-emission vehicles will truly be zero emission. That's why today, I'm directing the Department of the Environment to convene a public-private task force to examine how best to electrify San Francisco's buildings. My all-electric path to zero emissions is going to be a collaborative one. We will work with our local businesses, our building owners, the environmental groups, labor and community-based organizations, and others. Renewable electricity today is our path to an all-electric, zero emissions tomorrow. Now, I know that we're all excited about what we're talking about here because this means a better and brighter and cleaner future for our planet. And we want everyone else to get excited as well, which is why the collaborative approach is so important, and working with our partners to achieve this goal is so important. Today's announcement is just one of the many exciting programs we have rolled out during the month of April to celebrate Earth Month. At the beginning of the month, I was proud to announce the largest and last major enrollment of our Clean Power SF program, the city's local renewable energy plan managed by the Public Utilities Commission. By the end of Earth Month, we will have enrolled over 250,000 new customers, which will bring us in total to 360,000 accounts throughout San Francisco. When you combine all these new residents and businesses that are powered by Clean Power SF with places like City Hall and the airport that are already served by clean Hetch Hetchy power, the city meets 80% of the electricity demands in San Francisco. That's 80% of the city receiving clean, renewable energy from local utility with public oversight. What an amazing accomplishment. Just as important, we will be taking the revenue from our Clean Power SF program and investing that back in the community and making sure that we continue to create incredible clean and green jobs in our city, in our own communities, meaning more renewable energy projects, more well-paying jobs right here in the city and county of San Francisco. This has just been an amazing accomplishment for our city, and we know that working together, this is why we've come so far. Today we celebrate, but we know that there's still more work to be done, and I, along with so many incredible environmental leaders and members of the Board of Supervisors, are committed to getting the job done. Our future and our planet depend on it. Now I'd like to introduce the District 5 Supervisor, who's been an environmental champion, Supervisor Valley Brown.
Thank you, Mayor Breed, and happy Earth Day. When people say to me, what can I do to make a difference for our environment, I always say to them, start small. Don't use plastic bags. Refuse and reuse and refuse. Or refuse and don't reuse, refuse. Thank you. Anyway, that's a little tongue twister. But I also say, do small things like clean up your neighborhood and clean up the oceans when we go to the beaches. Those things can really make a difference. But one of the things that we also look at is we want to look at big things. Right now, we've been doing a pretty good job with cars. We have electric cars, gas-efficient cars, and that's about half of our pollution. But what you have to realize is the other half is coming from buildings. And that was something that is really interesting. Most people don't know that. And so in February, I introduced legislation that was efficiency legislation. Well, we'll look at buildings, residential buildings, to see how much they use. Because if we don't know, how can we move forward on policy? But this particular legislation is a benchmark legislation because this actually helps help us work with larger buildings. These larger buildings, they can create a lot of pollution. And so having this legislation here today and bringing this forward and having our different partners that actually push forward and want to have a clean building is so important. We have to think greener and we have to think cleaner. Thank you very much. Sorry, I forgot my amigo here. Next to, as always, my partner in crime and a lot of the legislation that I'm doing for environmental is Supervisor Rafael Yee. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. It really is an honor to be here today. I want to thank Mayor Breed for her leadership. It's not easy to tackle these issues. I mean, we make these announcements, we make these proclamations, and we say we're going to do these things, but it really takes bold visionary leadership. And the mayor has stepped up from the moment she took office. We made an announcement last year that talked about cutting our waste by 2030. That was a very bold step. We put some legislation forward to talk about diverting our trash and sorting it from landfill. That was a very bold step. And here we are today talking about cutting energy efficiency in half in a very aggressive manner. We're starting with the large buildings. We're moving our way down to medium-sized buildings, and then we'll end up with those that are 50,000 square feet over the next decade. These are really, really aggressive moves, outpacing many of the national goals that have been set. But in many ways, we are in a crisis. You know, we learned at the Paris Accords that we have 12 years to really take aggressive steps to reverse climate change. So things that we're doing here in San Francisco matter. The National Sierra Club for the great work they're doing, the local Sierra Club, our own Department of Environment and PUC. We are leaders on a national level when it comes to these steps. So I just want to say thank you, Mayor Breed. Thank you, Supervisor Brown, for the great work you're doing. And we will continue to fight each and every day to take bold steps. It's now my honor to introduce Jody Van Horn from the National Sierra Club and to talk about the great work that they're doing all over the United States.
Thank you. Happy Earth Day. I want to thank Mayor Breed, the Board of Supervisors, the Department of the Environment, for giving us such a wonderful thing to celebrate on this Earth Day. And thank you also to my fellow environmentalists who came out today, in particular the Bay Chapter, SF Bay Chapter of the Sierra Club, Mothers Out Front, and 350 SF Bay Area. My name is Jody Van Horn. I'm the director of Sierra Club's Ready for 100 campaign, which works with cities and towns across the country to accelerate a just and equitable transition to 100% clean renewable energy. The pursuit of 100% clean energy is no longer just an idea. It is a movement of students, businesses, faith leaders, mayors, and community members in hundreds of cities and towns across the country who are working to move away from fossil fuels towards an economy powered entirely by clean energy. Since the Ready for 100 campaign started in 2016, we've seen cities and towns take the lead in envisioning how a new energy future can look in this country. Local communities are setting the bar for climate action where our federal administration has failed to act. Today, 4 states and 120 cities across the United States are united in pursuit of their goals to be powered entirely by renewable sources of energy like wind and solar. That means that nearly 70 million people, or 1 in 5 Americans, lives in a place that is committed to transition to a future that's powered entirely by renewable energy. It's clear that the action we need globally is being led locally. Through actions like today's commitment by the City of San Francisco, the clean energy transition is building from the bottom up. We are so grateful for our clean energy leaders like Mayor Breed, who in September of last year, as San Francisco hosted the Global Climate Action Summit, joined our Mayors for 100% Clean Energy Initiative, and in doing so, pledged to set an example for other mayors across the country by turning ambition into impact, just as she is doing today by establishing this important mandate for renewable energy use in commercial buildings. Indeed, that is the whole reason for Mayors for 100% Clean Energy. We want city leaders to support one another and learn from each other so that we can replicate and catalyze bold actions to address climate change right now. San Francisco has long been a leader and has one of the most aggressive targets of any major city to achieve 100% community-wide clean energy by 2030. Mayor Breed's announcement today shows that the city is willing to turn ambition into measurable action to deliver on these goals. And Mayor Breed knows that setting a big target is not enough. Words need to be backed up with action. As we've seen all around us, from wildfires in California to storms and floods that have ravaged other parts of the country, the effects of climate disruption are already having profound effects. Working together now to equitably address these threats to our families, to vulnerable communities, and to future generations is no longer a choice to be made. It is our only option. So thank you, Mayor Breed. Thank you, City of San Francisco, Department of the Environment, for recognizing that climate change is not just our obligation, but an opportunity to breathe clean air and live in thriving communities for generations to come. Happy Earth Day, and thank you.
Thank you, Jody. My name is Debbie Rafael, and I am the Director of the San Francisco Department of Environment, and I am thrilled and honored to be out here on this beautiful day, joined by the Sierra Club, joined by Mothers Out Front, joined by all the people of San Francisco who care so deeply about this issue under the leadership of Mayor Breed. Our next speaker is really the reason we are here today. So, Dr. David Klein, the CEO of this hospital, understands that healthcare is not only about the health of the individual, it's about the health of the community and of the planet. And under his leadership and his willingness to take a step forward, he said, I know what we need to do. We need to show the world what's possible, and we'll do that through the operation of our building. So with this, let's welcome Dr. Klein.
Thank you, Debbie, and thank you, Mayor Breed. We are really so pleased to be here with you on Earth Day to address this very important topic. You know, in December of 2017, our Dignity Health hospitals in San Francisco, both St. Francis and our sister hospital, St. Mary's Medical Center, became the first hospitals to sign up for Clean Power SF's Super Green 100% renewable power. Switching was as easy as a phone call. As a health system, Dignity Health is committed to reaching 35% renewable energy usage and reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by 40% by the year 2020. These are goals that we are well on track to achieve thanks to the partnership with organizations like Clean Power and, of course, the City of San Francisco. In fact, I'm really proud to report that by switching to Super Green 100% renewable power, our hospitals now avoid more than 2 million pounds of carbon dioxide, and that's the equivalent of about 218 cars driven for an entire year. Really a remarkable number. Thank you. At Dignity Health, we believe that what's good for the planet is also good for the patient, so I really do applaud the work of the mayor, the mayor's office, Clean Power SF, and their many other partners towards sustainability in San Francisco. Thank you very much.
All right, that concludes our press conference. Thank you all so much for being here. I am so excited about the work that San Francisco will continue to do to be a leader on really contributing to changing how people think about what we can do here locally to protect our environment. We know that people reach out to us from all over the world on our incredible environmental policies. And this just takes us a step further to reaching the goals where we can make sure that we have a cleaner, greener planet for future generations. Thank you all so much for being here today.